And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing. Yes.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit, like God's property. It's hard to market, so we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. 'Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
This gentleman right here. Huh? What happened? No, this the gentleman right here with the camera in his hand. Wave your hand. Pastor
James Wesley Carr.
Yeah, James Wesley Carr. No. What's your name?
Oh, Kelly Richardson.
Kelly Richardson.
Pastor Kelly Richardson.
He is a great-great-grand-nephew?
Yeah.
Nephew of one of our first pastors. Wow. Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's his uncle right here in the corner of the actual stained glass window here to your left.
You got the eyes.
You look just like him. Got the same eyes. Anyway, come on, guys. Come on. That's funny. What's that up there looking like? Look on the outside edge of the pews. Look on the outside edge of the pews where you are. You see the different markings alongside the edge of the pews? They represent the different tribes that made up our congregation back then and spoke over 6 different languages among themselves. These were small tribes enslaved by larger tribes and sold to Europeans as they came along the African coast. One of the major languages they spoke back then was that of Aramaic and also two of Hebrew, which means the writings read from bottom to top. Assalamu alaikum. Which means, peace be unto you. It's not a Muslim term. It's actually the same greeting which Christ gave to the disciples when he met them in that region. Most countries in that region read from right to left. Here in America, we read from left to right. That's why the pastors in the stained glass window up front here are going in numbers 2 through 7 from the right-hand side over to the left, to the left, to the left.
This is First African Baptist Church, the oldest black church in North America. The building, built by slaves. The gentleman that laid the first brick laid the last. The balcony hold pews that actually were built by slaves. They have the oldest information in this building. That information is written in cursive Hebrew writing.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black. And the vernacular.
Wells comes face to face with the man he's been searching for. A new portrait of the common ancestor of every man today. Adam. Without the skull, we can't know for sure what Adam looked like. But a combination of genetic evidence, vendors' forensic skills, and cutting-edge computer software suggest he looked something like this. Thousands of years after the Bible, and hundreds of years after Michelangelo, we have a whole new face for Adam.
I was very excited when I first started to get evidence, and it was so counterintuitive. I'd put 20 Europeans and 20 African Americans on a sheet of X-ray film, and every African American showed differences, and all the Europeans looked the same. And I thought I'd mislabeled something, or I thought I'd made some drastic mistake. And we kept repeating and repeating things. And as we got more samples from different areas, I realized that it was a difference in the pattern, and that this whole new type of evidence based on mitochondria was going to change the way we thought about modern humans.
Their bones were discovered in Kafse caves near Nazareth in Galilee in 1933. 13 fragile skeletons, one a woman, a tiny baby at her feet. When these bones were first uncovered, they were the oldest complete modern human skeletons ever found.
The numerous skeletons that have been found in caves in Israel at the sites of Kafse and Shkul show us that there were modern humans outside of Africa over 100,000 years ago. Those modern humans may well have gone up the Nile corridor. But
the CT scan has one more surprise for Alejandro. Shammai's ethnicity.
Well, they have just told me that Shammai had a Nubian feature, which means that their ruling family was probably Nubian, and that was unexpected.
Examining Shammai's anatomy closely, the thickness of his bones and the shape of his nasal cavity, the anthropologists think he was a black African, likely from neighboring Nubia. A huge revelation that challenges the prevailing image of the Egyptian ruling class.
We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. And in this sense, Shammai is representing the society of the frontier, in which different ethnic groups were mixed. At the end, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. Shammai was Egyptian. At the end, it doesn't.
It just doesn't matter. 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 It just doesn't matter.
You know what you are? You are an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israel, that's who we are. I'm telling you, that's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time,
but
all that he said,
no, we don't have
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes, and I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? Do you want to?
Hitler was, and the Nazis, of course, expanded on Margaret Sanger's approach to eugenics, right? Eugenics was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African American community in this country, right? To eliminate them, with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African American community in this country, right? To eliminate them,
with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black and the vernacular that we're supposed to have.
And don't you black people ever forget one thing. The man that helped Jesus carry that cross was a black man. And don't ever forget another thing. Jesus belongs to Africa as much as he does to Europe and Asia. He was born in that part of the world that touches Africa and Asia and Europe, and Jesus was not a white man like me, nor was he as black as some of you. We don't know what the color of his skin, but it must have been a dark color like the people of his day, because he was a man like them.
The entire Bible is about black people. Not only was Jesus black, but every character in the Bible seems to be black too. Yeah, Zephaniah and Jeremiah and Jebediah, those all aren't white people names, okay? And Jesus wasn't some tan, partially melanated Middle Eastern person either. I'm talking straight up black dude, okay? Even in the book of Revelation, when you get the vision of Daniel, he's describing someone with feet like burnt brass and white woolly hair, and we've got the deep running water voice with the red eyes, and you guys, he's black. The Jewish people are black people, like Kanye was right.
It does not matter what color Jesus was. What matters is that he came to the earth, lived a perfect life, died a death for the sins of the world, and then conquered the grave, proving that he is the Son of God. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
It just doesn't matter. 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 It just doesn't matter.
That's why I'm convinced Jesus was black, you know, because he hasn't come back yet. Like, that's the... He said, I will be back at an hour that you least expected. That is the blackest thing I've ever heard in my life. He's going to confuse the hell out of everybody, all the white people when he comes back, too. Because he's like, it's been a minute. White people will be like, it's been 2,000 years, Jesus. What are you talking about?
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Hope all is well with you guys. Hope and pray that you guys had a blessed Shabbat. I pray that you got the proper rest as we are required to do, as instructed by the Most High, but not just make it all about you, but also celebrating the Father, because Shabbat doesn't it simply mean or solely mean to get rest, but the word Shabbat also means celebrate. And you'll see that word being used as celebration in Leviticus chapter 23. So I pray that you guys got the much needed rest, but making sure that you made it all about Yah in your time of rest, celebrating the Father for allowing you to have the opportunity to rest. Someone didn't wake up this morning that made plans to do things on this day. Some people are in the hospital uh, hoping or wishing that they had the opportunity to be out and about and have the opportunities that we have. So, I hope and pray that you guys got the proper rest. And then on top of that, the important thing about this rest is celebrating Yahweh. All right. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into it. Uh, I know that some of you guys probably was anticipating the a video that I was going to do, a discussion that I was going to do about Candace Owens, the broke clock. You guys know with a broke clock, uh, it's correct twice a day. And so because I did the video upload, it really wasn't necessary for me to actually do a video or an extended discussion on her. You guys already know where she is, know where she stand, and the her being part of the propaganda machine with the lies, the deception, the delusion. So you guys already know how she rolled. You know, with everything that she was dealing with, you probably thought that she was going to turn a leaf or turn a corner, not necessarily walk completely away from all what she's been doing, but just because of her interaction with the name stealers, you thought that there was going to be a little shift in her dialogue, but she's still the same old Candace. She is still the broke clock. So I'm not even going to continue to waste any breath on that, but I will say that, like anything that I upload here, if there's something that's there that's that I could use as a discussion piece, like some of the things that she had with the interaction with the name stealers, I'm going to use it. Similar to some of the other videos that I upload, like the Kanye West situation, the Kyrie Irving situation, some of the other videos that I've uploaded, such as football players stating that we're the people of the book. I use those as a conversation piece to really further show you that this awakening is reaching and is stretching into places that you least expect. And so we're talking about it, which is a good thing. But family, anyway, don't want to, like I said, spend a lot of time on her. So what I did was I shift the discussion, and I really want to, kind of do some of the things that I've done over the years, is really deal with identity. And as we see with Candace Owens and some of the gatekeepers, they are dealing with an identity crisis. Anytime that someone can defend a religion more than her group in terms of the suppression, that right there is a red flag. So we are going to deal with an identity and really share or shed light on the identity of the disciples. And I will say with extreme confidence, and we all know that the disciples, the 12 disciples, were Negroes. And we're just going to walk it out. The 12 disciples were Negroes. And I encourage you guys that before we get into the lesson, I encourage you guys to click the like button. And if you are subscribed to the channel, double check to ensure that you are still subscribed to the channel, because YouTube, they have been unsubscribing our followers. So double check to make sure that you are still subscribed. And likewise with the notifications, make sure you have that clicked. In many cases, what YouTube has been doing, they've been unchecking the notifications. And if you are new, if this is the first time that you are on the platform and listening, I encourage you guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. And it doesn't cost you anything. Just hitting that like button. The like button really helps the algorithms. Share it. I'm not one of those that are, that makes a big deal of people making clips out of the videos that I've taught, So go for it. But again, share the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Amen. So with that being said, we are going to get into the lesson. I see someone here, Shalom, Pastor Kelly. Is there another way to contribute to your ministry? I live in Vancouver, Canada, where the app is not available. Bless. All right. Well, send me an email and I'll send you some information. We are woke now at gmail.com. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. And as you can see, just author Candace Philip Anderson, she just confirmed it so that she was unsubscribed. And so, family, that's what YouTube has done. And, we were averaging easily over 5,000 subscribers for almost 4 months. We had a huge bump in December, January, and February. We went from about 43,000 subscribers at the beginning of December. And then from December to, I want to say around February, we jumped from just over 43,000 to almost 70,000 subscribers. And then suddenly they tightened the faucet. They turned the water off. Suddenly I began to just average 1 or 2 subscribers literally for months. So as author Candace Phillips Anderson, as she just checked, she says here, wow, can't believe I was unsubscribed, shaking my head. So that's why I want to encourage you guys, family. And I think someone else confirmed it as well. Let's see here. Georgetta, same thing. She was unsubscribed. And that's what they are doing to try to suppress channels like this. They want to make sure that the word is not getting out. They start trying to filter and, tighten the throttle, so to speak, to, the views on the videos. We could go right down the list, all the things that they are trying to do to suppress channels like this. But Yah be the glory, because even in the midst of it, even in the midst of their the things that they are doing, guess what? We are still growing. We are still getting the word out. And if you hear a little noise in the background, I'm just opening up this container here. Give me some nice lemonade, some homemade lemonade here. So I just want to have something to drink while I am teaching here. So again, just want to encourage you guys, don't take for granted, double check to make sure that you are still subscribed. And even after the video is over, the comment section helps as well, right? Post comments there. That helps with the reachability. That helps the algorithm, So with that being said, and also the other term that YouTube use is impressions, right? And we just had another person just confirm. Let's see here. Nay. Wow, I just checked and I wasn't shaking my head. So this is what they do in other platforms like Dante Forston are having the same issues, because I know for sure, had they not done what they have done, we would be easily over 100,000 subscribers easily. But it is what it is, family. It is what it is. We know what we're dealing with. So again, let's go ahead and get into the lesson. Don't want to prolong the lesson. The lesson tonight is fear of the Negro disciples. Let me say that again. Fear of the Negro disciples. And we are going to really unpack and prove with scripture. We have historical information we can share, which I'm going to do that as well. But we're going to prove that the disciples were Negroes. We already know Christ. We already know that all of Israel looked like you and I, hair like you and I. We already know that we were scattered to the four corners of this globe. We already know, and they know it as well. It's documented. It is documented. So that's why, when you see comments like this that's a rare comment from someone exposing the name stealers, you normally don't see them go further with their exposure and name who are the true people of the book. But this particular person, as you saw earlier, the CEO of the Sefer Bible, he says this, and then we're going to get into it.
Hitler was, and the Nazis, of course, expanded on Margaret Sanger's approach to eugenics, right? Eugenics was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them. With the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
With the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
All right. So, family, let's go ahead and get into it. And I want to encourage you guys, let's stay on conversation. Let's stay on topic, and don't get distracted by those that may come in to troll certain subjects. I already know that they're going to be trolls. And I know for sure if I would have done the Candace Owens, there would have been trolls in here inside the chat. But don't allow them to become a distraction. Moderators, you guys already know what to do. Shout outs to Jay Highstyle. And I think I saw also Son. Shout outs to you as well. Shout outs to all the moderators that's holding down the chat. Yaquaba. Let me see if I see any other moderators. Those are the moderators I see thus far. Stay on Fire Ministry. Shout outs to you. But if you see anyone inside the chat, Nora Bain, holding it down in Pennsylvania. If you see anyone inside the chat being disruptive, being disrespectful, or, just you guys already know what to do. So with that being said, family, let's go ahead and get into the lesson here. Let's get into the lesson. Fear of the Negro disciples. I want to start off with Exodus chapter 1, verse 7. Exodus chapter 1, verse 7, right? I like to use scripture as our foundation, and then we build from there. So the scriptures is our primary source. So let's go to Exodus chapter 1, starting at verse 7. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. So who are these slaves? So we have a passage inside Genesis, the book of Genesis, and we see that it tells us, let's go back, that the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now let's go to the science. Let's acknowledge and let's see who these slaves were. This is the stuff. If some of you guys that follow like the Candace Owens and some of these people that's out here that's railing against our community, share this information. Share this information. But who are these slaves? Those slaves were Negroes. Let me say that again. Those slaves were Negroes. All right. And we're going to prove that here. This is coming from Crania Aegyptica. You guys that have followed me or have been following me for a while, I tend to pull this out from time to time because it's imperative for us to understand the facts here. Samuel Morton was, was a cranium expert, and this is his published writings back in 1844 on his cranium analysis of over 750 craniums, all right, from Egypt. So this is his assessment. This is his findings. This is his conclusion on his discoveries, all right? So this is coming from page 60 of this source. If it be allowable to make these data the basis of calculation for the past 35 centuries, it will follow that upward of 10 million of Negroes have been brought as bondsmen in Egypt during that period. So he makes it clear that the Negroes, the slaves, the indentured servants, because you had indentured servitude as well in Egypt. But it makes it clear that it was an upward of 10 millions of Negroes have been bought as bondsmen, and the Hebrew word is abadah, as bondsmen into Egypt. Abadah come from the primitive root word abad, which abad means to till, cultivate. Okay, so abadah can be used for women and men, that title, ancient Hebrew title. But anyway, upwards of 10 millions of Negroes have been brought as bondsmen into Egypt during that period. Okay, and it goes on to say the vast influx of Negroes into the valley of the Nile must necessarily have left its impression on the physical traits of the Egyptians themselves in modern times, as seen in the Copts and in more distant periods, as proved by the Negroid heads in which both the configuration and expression are too obvious to be mistaken. But it may be inquired, how does it happen that Negroes or their descendants should be found in the catacombs if they constituted a menial or slave caste in Egypt? So he's asking the question, how is it that he's able to discover the same craniums of the Negro slaves right here in the Americas that have been scattered around the world? How is it that he see the same craniums, those points in the craniums, to those that had that were enslaved in Egypt? And again, this is 1844. He was a racist. He was a racist, but one thing they did not undo, when I say they, the science and all that, they did not contest his findings of what he states here about Negro, the same Negroes that was enslaved in the transatlantic World War, the same craniums were found in ancient Egypt, all through there. So again, it's more to the science, not just DNA, right? We have the cranium that is a marker, right? So let's skip over to page 66. He says this: Negroes were numerous in Egypt, but their social position in ancient times was the same that it is now, that of servants and slaves. And so that's why you saw, as I played the clip in the intro, you saw this guy here, this scientist, being shocked when it was discovered that the ancient Egyptian ruler that they excavated far as his tomb, he turned out to be a Negro. He was shocked. He was you can see the expression, you can see this the disbelief. And just so happened his name was Shammai. And all you guys that understand Hebrew, Shammai or Shammai, it means listen with intelligence. It means discern. So family, they know that they know who's the true people of the book. They know who's the true people of the book. But this is the clip. I'll play it one more time, just so that way you guys can understand. They know, when I say they, starting with the scientists, they know who's who, starting from the ancient times moving forward. So that's why you see this scientist here with the look of disbelief on his face.
But the CT scan has one more surprise for Alejandro: Shammai's ethnicity.
Well, they have just told me that Shammai had Nubian features, which means that their ruling family was probably Nubian, and that was unexpected.
Examining Shammai's anatomy closely, the thickness of his bones and the shape of his nasal cavity, the anthropologists think he was a black African, likely from neighboring Nubia. A huge revelation that challenges the prevailing image of the Egyptian ruling class.
We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. we always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. And in this sense, Shema is representing the society of the frontier in which different ethnic groups were mixed. At the end, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. Shema was Egyptian. At the end, it doesn't matter.
Now, the problem for me, it's not about color. It's not about white and black. This is a very reductive way to talk about things. This is the way that Americans talk about it. I'm very sorry. Like, I come from Egypt. Egypt has a very diverse color palette. People can look like me, or they can look deeper skin tone like Anwar Sadat, who comes from a Nubian origin. It's not about black and white. It's not about black and white. It's not about black and white.
It just doesn't matter. 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 It just doesn't.
So, family, they know, and this is why you hear them try to lump everyone together. Oh, well, you know, the Egyptians look like everybody. They generalize it. It doesn't matter. You know, when they get caught with their hands in the cookie jar, suddenly it doesn't matter. But it did matter having that Caucasian Christ image pressed on our people. It does matter when you see that Caucasian hippie looking Christ, you know, images all over in many churches. It does matter when you see these movies and all you see is hippie Christ the hippie, Christ the weed head, Christ the you guys know where I'm going at with it. But then they try to transition over to this so-called Mediterranean appearance, saying that they were all races, they were all different groups, and they meshed and mixed together. No, we're not receiving that. You know, they always want to make it generic, key places generic when it comes to us. All right. So again, Samuel Morton says Negroes were numerous in Egypt, but their social position in ancient times was the same that it is now. The time that he is living in, the Negroes that was enslaved by the Roman Catholic Church, by Christianity, right? In other countries that was under their influence, he's saying those Negroes are the same that it is now of his time as it was back in the ancient times, and that of their social position in ancient times was the same that it now is, that of servants and slaves. So Samuel Morton was clear that the Negroes were enslaved in ancient in ancient Egypt. You can't get around it. You can't get around it. Negroes were enslaved in ancient Egypt. Simeon Morton was also clear that not a single skull from the Scythians or Scythians, however you want to pronounce it, were discovered in ancient Egypt. So why am I saying that? And I'm going to go into a source, but why am I saying that? And why am I bringing that to your attention? Because you have somebody or some people out there from certain spaces that teach that the name stealers that we see today are the same people that were enslaved in ancient Egypt. So let me play two contradictory clip of this particular name stealer who actually admit to that his people are name stealers. And then he gives a lot of contradictory words, such as, hey, no, there's not a shred of evidence that you can that someone of today can be traced back to the Khazarians. But then he openly admits that the Khazarians converted over to Judaism. Here we go. You guys already know this is Sister Carol's favorite person. So let's start off with the clip of him admitting that they are name stealers.
You say, where did the name Ashkenazi came from? So a little over 1,000 years ago, as Jewish people scattered around the world had now emigrated in Europe and now were living in the Rhineland in Germany, they looked at the name Gomer in Genesis 10, and they connected Gomer with Germany, So they took on the identity of the name Ashkenaz. It has nothing to do with Ashkenaz in the Bible, which is a descendant of Japhet. It's just a name that was taken. Okay, it's that simple. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin or anything else. It was shortened from a Russian name when my grandfather came over at Ellis Island. The name got shortened to Brown. It's just a name. That's all it is. So the idea that Ashkenazi Jews are descended from Japhet is a myth, 100% false, zero truth to it. Just study the history.
I had to bring the garbage can out. Now, let me play a clip of a couple of pastors who are teaching Genesis 2 and 9 and not Genesis 2 and 9, but Revelation 2 and 9 and Revelation 3 and 9, and teaching it as from the perspective of a group of people taking an identity that didn't belong to them. And they used the phrase or the label Khazarian or Khazars, right? And then I'll play the clip of Dr. Michael Brown, his response to them stating this, and then we'll continue on with Samuel Morton. Here we go.
But we understand this is really there's a practical storyline I've shared before on a program maybe a year ago, I don't know, about the Khazarian mafia and the Khazarian Jews, and I'll just say the briefest understanding of it and how this applies to them, because it's about 1,000 years ago. Really, these are almost like marauding tribes, not like tribes of the tribe of Israel, but they're based out of the Ukraine, ironically or not, based out of Kiev. And these were those that would go around, take new lands, and they were known, they had brought the Babylonian religion with them. They were doing cannibalism, human trafficking, no boundaries, sex interaction. They were so wicked that the story goes that he who led, I believe, was a Tsar of Russia, when he had won a battle against him, gave him an option. And in some way or another, this is a truth that they were told, again, 1,000 years ago, you must choose a religion. You all are worthless people. You're not training your kids into any kind of civility, reasonableness. And he gave them a choice of the three Abrahamic religions. And the three Abrahamic religions being either, at the time, we'd say Catholicism, Christianity. The other one is Islam, and the other was Judaism. And so they, in a very pragmatic way, the Khazarians chose Judaism because the Pope and the Vatican, they were very hands-on, forcible conversions. And so it was not a light thing to go under that, nor was it Islam. It's a heavy yoke on both. And so Judaism would leave them alone. And so they did some things of incorporating some level of, they weren't, first of all, they were not Semites.
So you see that he said that they were not Semites. They referred to Khazars. They began to teach on they're teaching on Revelation chapter 2. Actually, matter of fact, let me play this clip. I meant to play this clip first. And you can hear them teaching on Revelation 2 and 9, because many would teach that, hey, no, that it's not dealing with identity. It's not dealing with fake or name stealers. It's just dealing with some Jews per se that were treating the Gentiles a certain way. But let's see what he says. Let's see what they say, and then I'll play Dr. Brown's response, and we'll continue with the lesson.
And so when he's saying he's coming to redeem, while he would say, redeem Israel, O God, out of all their troubles. First thing they need to be redeemed at, more dangerous than Hamas, more dangerous than Muslim neighbors, are internal, and there's another biblical name, these who say they are Jews and are not.
I was going to ask you about that. In Revelation 3:8, I think, I was going to ask you that question. Does that refer to this time, or can it refer to this time?
It can. It's Revelation 3:9. Indeed, I will make those of the synagogue of Satan who say they are Jews and are not, but lie.
Yeah.
And there's a different application for it.
So you see that they are saying that there's a different application from what it's been taught. And those are two passages from the evangelical church. So they're making it clear that the way that Revelation 3 and 9, even though he said 3 and 8, but 3 and 9, he's saying that there's another application of another way to apply that prophecy. So Dr. Brown supposedly insulted and tried to refer to them as stating or tapping into being, or should I say, anti-Semitic tropes. This is his response, and he shoots himself in the foot, like the gift that keeps giving. Listen to how he contradicts himself.
As far as the alleged conversion of the Khazaris, you can read it, Yehuda Halevi's book, The Khazari, that it may be true that as there is debate and discussion, there are Turkic people a little over 1,000 years ago that some of the leaders or some of the people did, in fact, convert to Judaism and then became part of the larger Jewish people. Khazars as a whole disappear from history. That's it. End of subject. There is no Khazarian mafia. There is not a single Jew on the planet that can be traced back in any definitive way to the Khazars. Zero.
And so you heard the lie. You heard him shoot himself in the feet or in the foot. He says the Khazars converted over. It's true. And they became what? The larger people, if you listen closely to what he said. But then he said they just completely disappeared off the face of the earth. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They didn't just disappear off the face of the earth. So let's see what Samuel Morton has to say. Because if Dr. Brown and others, like Rabbi Abramson and others that are stating that they are blood descendants of the ancient Israelites and that they were enslaved in Egypt, let's see what Samuel Morton has to say about the Khazarians who are connected to the Scythians. Let's see what he says about them. Let's get into it. Let's see what he says about them. Samuel Morton was also clear that not a single skull from the Scythians, which are synonymous to the Khazars, were discovered in ancient Egypt. Here it is on page 66. We're going to read entry number 9, or should I say paragraph 9? Let me zoom in so you can see it. Paragraph 9. That's what that's the page, rip page effect that you see that I bring up on, that I use when I'm doing these slides. But I can read it straight from here. The national characteristics of all these families of man are distinctly figured on the monuments, and all of them excepting the Scythians and Phoenicians have been identified in the catacombs. So he just made it clear that you cannot find Scythians, you cannot find Khazarians, you cannot find Ashkenazis, you cannot find any of them in terms of their skulls in the catacombs of Egypt. So if they are saying that they are descendants of ancient Israel, then the craniums should prove that. This is a slam dunk right here. So I'll read it one more time. It says the national characteristics of all these families of man are distinctly figured on the monuments, and all of them, excepting the Scythians and Phoenicians, have been identified in the catacombs. This is drop the mic moment right here. We just dropped the mic right here. And you guys know, I like to bring this out every now and then. YouTube may try to flash it, but I don't care.
Challenge!
So, family, it's simple. Accept the challenge. But we're not going to stop there. Let me give you a source. I'm not, because I don't want to go too deep with the Scythians and Khazarians. I can, but I want to keep it simple. But let me give you one other reference tying the Scythians and Scythians, the Scythians and the Khazarians and the Ashkenazis all together. Remember, Dr. Brown also said that they were a Turkish people. That's the other point I want to make. So who are the Scythians? What Scythians? Who are they? Well, this is a source here localizing Ashkenazic Jews to primeval villages in the ancient Iranian lands of Ashkenaz. An analysis of 393 Ashkenazic, Iranian, and Mountain Jews and over 600 non-Jewish genomes demonstrated that Greeks, Romans, Iranians, and Turks exhibit the highest genetic similarity with AJs, in other words, Ashkenazi Jews. The geographic population structure analysis localized most Ashkenazi Jews along primeval trade routes in northeastern Turkey adjacent to primeval villages with names that may be derived from Ashkenaz. But it didn't stop there. Iranian and Mountain Jews were localized along trade routes on the Turkey's eastern border. Loss of maternal haplogroups was evident in non-Yiddish speaking Ashkenazi Jews. Our results suggest that Ashkenazi Jews originated from a Slavo-Iranian confederation, which the Jews call Ashkenazic. In other words, Scythians. Let me see that again. Ashkenazic, in other words, Scythians or Scythians. So the Ashkenazis and the Scythians are the same people, in which Samuel Morton said that he did not find a single cranium in Egypt, in the catacombs of Egypt, did not find a single cranium from the people that are connected to the Scythians, which is also the Khazarians, which, as you see here, the Ashkenazis. It's as though these Jews probably spoke in Persian or Asset. This is compatible with linguistic evidence suggesting that Yiddish is a Slavic language created by the Irano-Turk Slavic Jewish community along the Silk Roads as a cryptic trade language. All right. So again, we just proved with science, and we already know with the scriptures that the Ashkenazis are descendants of Japheth. That's his grandson. All right. So let me give some shout outs here. It looks like I see a couple of cash apps here. Let me start here and we'll work our way to the beginning. Let's start with Ambush Predator. They have taken wherever they go the lands and names of the people, including us. Absolutely. Thank you for the love and support. And Josephus makes a comment. He literally writes in his history of what was taking place in Jerusalem when they were sacked by the Romans. He makes it clear that the Greeks had a history of hijacking other people's cultures. And I may, if I have enough time, I'll paste that in here into this presentation and I'll read it to you guys. But thank you for the love and support. Really appreciate the Cash App. Thank you. We also actually Ambush Predator gave 2. I didn't see 2, but thank you for both of them here. Hello from St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Ham became the progenitor of the dark races, but not the blacks, Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. And that's coming from the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. And actually, I did an entire lesson. There's a video inside the foundational teachings inside that playlist. And I encourage you guys, go watch that video. And I really deal with this entry that's in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. But thank you again. Ambush Predator. Really appreciate the love and support. And moderators, if you can, that video that I did on the Negroes, far as I think it was titled Anyone But the Negroes, but really dealing with this particular entry. If you could copy inside the playlist, inside the comment section or inside the chat, that'd be great. All right. But I also want to give shout outs to author Candace Phillips Anderson. Thank you for the love and support. Teach Pastor K. Really appreciate you, sis. Thank you again for the love and support. Family, let's show them love. Give some shout outs to them. Love up on them in the comment section. Really appreciate you, sis. All right. So are there any footage of the original people in Egypt? Was the ancient Ethiopians Khazars or Negroes? We already knocked that down. But what is the meaning of Negro? You know, because we have some breadcrumbs, because we're going to use scriptures to really identify the disciples and want to prove to you that the disciples, just like the Israelites, we already know they are Negroes, right? They are connected to our people. Even Samuel Morton, the cranium expert, made it clear that the slaves, the servants there were Negroes. And also, he went further to say that the Egyptians appear to be Negroes. But his reasoning, or trying to explain that, is by saying that they were mixing with the Negroes to have an impact or impression or imprint on the Egyptians looking like Negroes. So I'm just summarizing his assertion. All right. But anyway, what is the meaning of Negro? So let's start with the etymological dictionary definition of Negro, and then we're going to walk right into proving who's who. All right. But I need to set this up. We need to walk this thing out. I can give a simple, straight answer, but I want to walk this thing out for those that are in the coming to this awakening for the first time, and even for those that have been here for a while. It's good to have refreshers at your place of business. You have refreshers every year for important training. But anyway, Negro, right? It says member of a black skinned race of Africa. That's the 1550s entry. And notice what you see here from Spanish or Portuguese, Negro, excuse me, black, from Latin, negrum. And then it has the nominative, nigger, right? And I'm going to explain to you. I don't think I put the entry here. I may have to, when I get there, I'm going to upload it so that way you guys can hear the actual Strong's entry of this word. But nevertheless, we see black, dark, sable, dusky, gloomy, you know. So it went from this being the definition to now you can start seeing the insult behind this word. It says gloomy, unlucky, bad, wicked, the stereotypes, right? And then it says here, the Latin word was applied to black peoples of Africa. And then we see here, but the term usually were Ethiops or Afer. Afer is one of the sons of Abraham. Afer is a Shemitic word. But let's break this word down. Let's break these words down. But anyway, before we get there, let me finish this definition. Reading this definition here, this entry within this dictionary online. It says used with a capital N, became general early 20th century. And it goes on to say in reference to U.S. citizens of African descent. So the Latin word was also applied to the black peoples of Africa, but the usual terms were Ethiops. So let's go to Ethiops. Let's see what Ethiops mean. It says here, Ethiopian Negro. That's the definition of Ethiop or Ethiop back in the 14th century, but it tells us what it means. Athean, in other words, to burn, plus ops, in other words, face. So Ethiop, the combination of it means burned face or black face. And this is where you get into the blackface minstrels mocking who? The Negro. See, they have purposely, when I say they, those that have oppressed us, these different groups that are out here, they have purposely targeted everything that was honorable, everything that was royal, everything that's a compliment to our people. They made it ugly. So we see here fiery looking, later sunburned. So Athen or Athean means to burn plus ops. In other words, this is where you get the term now called blackface. But let's look at the word ether. Let's look at the word ether. It says here, upper region of space. What color is the upper regions of space? Right? Ether. Right? So the upper pure, bright air, sky, firmament. To burn, shine. But when we look here again, we're dealing with dark skin people. That's why we see ether. When you look at this up in space, it's going to look what? Pretty much pitch black. Of course, with the exception of the stars. So we see here to burn. Proto-Indo-European aid means to burn. All right, so let's go to the Oxford Dictionary definition of this word, Aethiops. Let's see what it says. All right, and I'm telling you, it's a miracle that I was able to even take screenshots of this, because the book is like really tiny. You have you need as you see here, a reading glass. Right, so I took a picture of it so you can see the reading glass. It's a magnifying glass in order to read it. It's that tiny. All right, but anyway, it says here, Ethiop, right? Also Ethiop or Ethiope or Ethiop, right? We see Ethiops, but nevertheless, let's go down here. It says, commonly believed to be to burn plus face, as I just read, and to mean primarily burnt face. Goes on to say the formation is, however, not clear, and some have supposed that the word to be an etymolizing corruption of a foreign ethnic name. All right, so let's go down here. All right, it says the Ethiopians are mentioned by Homer as a possible dwelling in the Far East and the Far West, and later Greek. I think that's Greek or German. I think it stands for German. The name was applied chiefly to the inhabitants of Africa south of Egypt, but also to people of swarthy complexion. In other words, dark skin like us, complexion, and other parts of the world. So you have swarthy, what's the other one? Auburn, swarthy, auburn, ruddy. They all are synonymous to meaning dark skin. All right. And it says to wash in, and just giving us some additional information. We see here a person with a black skin, a blackamoor. So again, to wash, right? It gives the pretty much reference from scriptures. Let's go here. When it says to wash, let me see. I think I saw it here. Yeah, right here where it says phrase to wash an Ethiop, to attempt the impossible. So what this is saying is to wash an Ethiopian, to make them white. That's why it has white right here, to attempt the impossible. And why did they say this? Why is this entry here? This is Jeremiah 13:23. And this is what it's quoting. Can an Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? All right. So a person's dark skin and a leopard spot are fixed features of their being. Even though you have people doing all kinds of whiting themselves, using chemicals to make them look lighter. But guess what? You still see the features, though. You still see the features. So a dark-skinned person cannot make his skin lighter, nor can a leopard change its spots. They can do that now. Again, they can make their skin lighter with bleaching, but you still see the features. That's the point I want to make. So when we go to the etymological dictionary definition of Negro, this is what it's going to share with us. Again, African American vernacular, the English language spoken by U.S. blacks. But the key here, we see blackamoor, blackamoor, a Middle English word for Ethiopian. So African American is synonymous to, or not African American, Negro, at one time was synonymous to blackamoor or blackamoor. Middle English, the word for Ethiopian. Perhaps also a Negro generally. But notice what you see here was blue man. In other words, blue man. Now, do you know the ripe olive color is blue-black? Do you know indigo, that blue color, is connected to the word Indian? Blue man, blue-black, right? That's the ripe olive. This the olive they won't tell you that the Israelites look like. That's the olive that they don't want to acknowledge. They want to get you to believe that it was the green olive, and that you will and I will default to, as the scientists, try to do, is default to this Middle Eastern or Mediterranean. Those are the terms. Middle Eastern now, Mediterranean, or a Arabic. They come up with these different terms to try to say, or olive, to try to say that they didn't look like us. They look like the modern things that we see today. All right. So blue men, right? Blue men. So Negro had a unique meaning in the United States. Let me say that again. The word Negro had a unique meaning in the United States. This is the Negro Law of South Carolina by John Belton O'Neill, 1848, page 9. Section 1, right? Negro Law of South Carolina, Section 1. The Act of 1740, Section 1, declares all Negroes and Indians, in other words, free Indians, in enmity with this government, Negroes, mulattoes, mestizos, who now are free, accepted. In other words, so it says, to be slaves, the offsprings to follow the condition of the mother, and that such slaves are chattels personal. Section 2, it says, under this provision, it has been uniformly held that color is prima facie evidence that the party bearing the color of a Negro, mulatto, or mestizo is a slave. But the same prima facie results does not follow from the Indian color. But I want to go to a key point here. Section 4. The term Negro is confined to slave Africans. In other words, the ancient Berbers and their descendants. It does not embrace the free inhabitants of Africa, such as the Egyptians, the Moors, or the Negro Asiatics, such as the Lascars. So Negro here in the United States means slaved Africans. That was the term that they used, suppressive term, when they defined us. Actually, in this country, we should not embrace the term African American and embrace Negro, because if you're looking for reparations, it's attached to the word Negro. But when you start going through these different phases, like Obama and all these guys purposely put this out there, African American, colored. Now that takes you away from the argument of reparations. Now you're using generic terms that others that's not part of our community can use the term and say that they're African Americans, but they can't say that they're Negroes. All right. But anyway, is Negro, nigger, which is pronounced Niger nowadays, is it interchangeable or connected to nigger, Nigger? So is Negro, and I'll just say for the sake of conversation for now, Niger, Niger, interchangeable or connected to nigger? Well, let's go to the Century Dictionary 1895. Let's see what it says. Right? We see nigger, Nigger, but look at here, Niger, still pronounced the same. Then we see Niger, Neger. Now Negri or Negre or Niger still pronounces, you can pronounce it the same, Negre. But notice what it says here. Negro, a black man. So we see Niger and Negro. They are synonymous. Negro, nigger, Niger, a Negro C. It says C Negro. Nigger is, or Nigger, is not as generally accepted as, excuse me, let me slow down. Nigger, Nigger, is not generally supposed a corruption of Negro, but is regularly developed from the earlier form of Niger, which is still tying into that word, Negros connected to Niger, which is derived through the French from the Spain or Spanish. And then we see Negro, Portuguese Negro, from which English Negro is taken directly. Entry number one, a black man, Negro. And notice what we see here. Nigger, Nigger, is more English in form than Negro, and was formerly and to some extent still is used without opprobrious intent. In other words, it says here, but it is now used confined to colloquial or illiterate speech. So now you see that initially this was a complimentary word. It wasn't a slang that we see now today, in which it generally conveys more or less of contempt. And it goes on to say, in most of the provinces are many rich mines. And they're giving some examples here. But the Nigars, notice what we see here, but the Nigars oppose the Portugals for working in them, right? And this just gives you some different examples of using this here. So let's go to the Oxford Dictionary definition of this word. It says here, nigger, Nigger, also nigar, and it says alteration of nigger, Neger. So you see how it all ties in, and it says a Negro. This is all connected. Colloquial and usual contemptuous. So we're saying from a colloquial perspective, this is a word of contention, an insult. All right. So again, contempt of poor blacks, or nigger, Nigger, as they are called, seems the national sins of America. And that's what it says here, right? As they are called, seems the national sins of America, right? So let's go to niggers, Negus. This is inside the etymological dictionary, niggas, Negus, niggas. Title of the ruler of Abyssinia. We see here Amharic, Semitic, Nigush, king, from stem of Nagasha. In other words, he forced ruled. So niggas, title of the ruler of Abyssinia. So I want to highlight a language here because, and I'm going to tie this all in together, right? The language of Gaaz, which is the ancient language of the Ethiopians, right? And Gaaz did not have all the vowel sounds that we see today. They didn't exist in ancient Gaaz, which is a Shemitic language, as well as ancient Hebrew. There was no O sounds. There were no U sounds. Those are all modern constructs. You know, in a nutshell, let's get into it. So it says here, before the 4th century, Ge'ez or Gaaz had not made use of vowels, but the usage of vowels was incorporated into Gaaz when the Ashkemites converted to Christianity, which occurred sometimes in the 4th century. So we see that this language was modified, as it says, as early as the 4th century, because it did not have, like I said, the vowels that we see of today, right? So it says here, suggests that the reason that the alphabet was made or was modified at the time could have been due to the wish to make biblical text more intelligible to newly illiterate. Okay. And this is the language here. Sabine or Saba'an, Gaaz here, but it made the same sounds. Gaaz come from the Saba'an, which is referred to as Sabine of today. All right. And this is just how you read it. Abaga, Daza, Ta'a, Ya, Ka, La, Ma, sa, sa'a, sa'a, ka'a, ra, wa, za, ha, ha, na, sa, sa, ta. Sound like ancient Hebrew, without the Yiddish added to it. So does niggas, Negus, means king of kings, lord of lords? Well, let's see. Niggas, Negus, negaste or negast, but negaste, we see here niggers, Nigger, and nigga, Nigga. But guess what? This is what it tells us. A unique derivative a unique derivative of an ancient title. Negus, Negus, the noun, is king, a term originated from Abyssinia, a king used as a title of the sovereign of Ethiopia. The term is originated by its native Ethiopian Amharic languages. Since the creation of the title, Negus, Negus, has been used to identify, but I'm not going to read all of this. All right. So we do know that this is not a derogative term. Negus or nigger, these words were not originally derogative as it was made today. And we see here a prey of, when we see Negus, Nagaste, king of kings. All right. But anyway, let me fast forward. This is the compact Oxford Dictionary definition of Negus, right? It's still confirming what we just read. Not going to read all of this, but we see here king, Negus, king, Negus is king, right? But guess what? The other communities, they corrupted. They corrupt this word. Okay, continuing on. So what is the Hebrew word synonymous to Negus? Well, let's see. We see Nagid, right? These are two different ways of writing it out. Nevertheless, we see here commander, a commander, civil, military, religious. In other words, we see here governor, in other words, chief, leader. So we see it ties in. Nagid or Nagad, that ties into the Shemitic language, Gaaz, which is, it says Negus, but it'll be Nagas, right, as well, Nagas. But we see here Nagad, still sound the same. So we see this word in 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 16. We see King Saul referred to as a Nagad, right? Thou shalt anoint him to be captain over my people Israel. We see 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 2, right? Thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be a captain. So the leaders, the kings of Israel, was called nigger, Nagad, Negus, Negus. So it wasn't the word that we see today. I'm telling you, family, it was an assertive attack to corrupt pretty much everything that was complimentary of us and turn it into a byword, as scripture tells us. So a deeper dive of the word niggers, Niggers, right? And this is coming from Leslie Dunkling, the Facts on File Dictionary of First Names, page 205. Look at what it says. Neil, the word Neil, the name Neil. It says Irish genitive, Neil is still pretty much the same. The name was Latinized as Negeles, so that it was latter thought to be derived from Latin nigger, Niger, black. From the Latin form also led to the variant form Nagel, right? Not Nigel, Nigel. In the 19th century, Neil was predominantly a Scottish name used sporadically in the rest of Britain, but only became really popular in the 1950s. But I want to get to a key point here. It says here, right? So we see that the word Neil, it says, but they are Danish and Swedish forms of Nicholas. So Neil, Nigel, all comes from the word, as you see here, comes from, it says all forms of Nicholas. So Neil derives from the word Nigelis, and Nigelis derives from the word Niger, Niger. Nig is the short form of niggers, Nigger, nig, Nigg. Nig is also the short form of Nicholas, right? I'm going somewhere with this. So now let's go to the source here. Patrick Hanks, Flavial Hodges, A Dictionary of Surnames, 1988. Let's see what it says. Page 387. Look at what we see here. We see Nig, Nigg, being connected to Nicholas. All right, so this is further proven that Nig is connected to Nicholas. I'm going somewhere with we're going to get to the disciples in a second. We're walking this out. So Nig is also synonymous to the word Nick. Nig, Nick. Okay, so what is the meaning of Nicodemus? Not going to go too deep in this right here. And this is just the etymological dictionary showing that this is a Greek name, you know, and this is what really makes it suspect, because Nicodemus, Nike or Nike, that is a goddess. This is not a Hebrew name. This is not a Hebrew name. This is a Greek name, which insinuates that Nicodemus could quite be Hellenized, which he wasn't. But anyway, this is a whole nother discussion. All right. And when you go to the Greek Strongs, and this is what it tells you: Nicodemus, victory, people, right? A member of the Sanhedrin who visited Christ, Yahushua, by night as an inquirer. But what is the meaning of Nick? Let's get back to this. We see Nick when we go to the etymological dictionary definition. It says to make a notches or notches in, sense of to steal. And it says here slang sense of to catch, take unawares, arrest. Guess what, family? It ties into the word picnic. But notice what it says: Nick, familiar form of Nicholas. So Nick, Nig, ties back into what? Nicholas. And look at what it says here: Nicker, right? Or Niker. Nicker. Niker. Sounds like what? Nigger, right? Nigger. Water demon, sprite, mermaid. So Nike or Niker or whatever, you know, like I pointed out, that's why it's questionable about Nicodemus' name. Picnic, I'm not going to go into too details of this, but you see that picnic, it still ties into the word Nick. All right. And it says here, a fashionable social affair in which every partaker contributed something to the general table. This is where they get our ancestors, providing to that general table to be entertainment for them. And then we see here, procure, to pick, peck. In other words, nick, right? Or neek, worthless thing. Anyway, so who is this worthless thing according to our oppressors? Picked for the social events that required all participants to bring something to the table? It's us. So the question is Negro interchangeable or connected to nigger, Nigger? In the online etymological dictionary, we see a connection between nigger, Nigger, and Negro. We proved that. We also see with the Barn Concise Dictionary, we see that they also make the connection, because we see Negro and then we see Niger, or Niger rather, Niger. We see the connection here. Black-skinned person from Africa or of African descent. Borrowed from Spanish or Portugal, Negro black. Negro. From Latin, nigger, Niger, Niger. Negro and nigger is synonymous. 1594. Okay, so now that we laid out this foundation, now let's transition over to breaking down the disciples, starting with the first one here, who is a leader of them. Let me drink some water here. All right. All right. So let's break this down, family. So far, we unpacked a lot. Now, let me give some shout outs here before we continue. I see some additional super chats here. Let's see. Ambush, I'm correcting my last post, Pastor. This is what I wanted to hear from you. Thank you. We should not be using Black or African American as these tags and misnomers. Appreciate the love, and thank you for the multiple super chats here. Thank you for the love and support. Really appreciate you. Thank you. Really appreciative of the contributions tonight. Let's see here. Pastor, this is what I wanted to hear from you. Thank you. We should be using Black or, so yeah, I see the correction here, but really appreciate it, my brother. Thank you again. Then we see James Mitchell. The greatest secret in the world is keeping us in the world from knowing our identity. And we see more and more are waking up. So many are waking up now. All right. But thank you guys again, family. Let's show some love. Really appreciate the love and support that you guys have shared tonight. Thank you for the contributions. Greatly appreciative. All right. So let's go ahead and get into Acts 13:1. See, this is why they fear the Negro disciple, right? This is why they fear us, man, because can't nobody teach like us. No one teach like how those that the Most High truly spoke to. They can't teach like us because the Most High did not speak with any other nation, reveal his law, statutes, and commandments. No other nation but Israel, our ancient ancestors. So it's in our DNA, right? It's in our system. It's in the very fiber of what makes us who we are. So let's go to Acts chapter 13, verse 1. Now we're getting into the deep. I used all of that to set this up. Let's go to Acts chapter 13, starting at verse 1. Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger, Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod, the tetrarch of Saul. So one of the things I have a challenge in doing, we're going to prove that I already proved that they Negroes, but we're going to prove that Simeon is a Negro because, matter of fact, they already talk about it in the Christian circles, recognize him as being a Negro, right? But we want to take it a step further. I'm going to prove that all these guys that are listed here, Lucius, Cyrene, Manaen, all of those guys here are Israelites. They are Negroes, okay? So is Negro interchangeable or connected to nigger, Niger? We already answered that. Let's go to fast forward here. Let me download this video. And then I'm going to upload it because I don't think I have this in my saved videos. All right, let me download this and let me upload it so you guys can hear with your own ears the proper pronunciation of this word. And normally when I do this lesson, instead of saying it with my voice, I let the recording say it just for the sake of not getting flagged by YouTube. But it's all good because I'm going to put it up here anyway. So that way I could default to this. Let me just go ahead and download this real quick and I'm going to upload it. Let me see here. Can I save it? Bear with me 1 second, family. I'm going to try to download this real quick because I know you guys won't be able to hear it. All right, there we go. I want to save this. All right. All right. So I'm going to save this here to my downloads, and then I'm going to upload this, and then we'll play the recording of how this actually sounds. So let me upload it right now. I got a lot of uploads, but let me upload this right now. All right, I'm gonna have to do something here. I got a lot of. Let me remove a couple of these clips here so I can make room. Got a lot of uploads here. All right, let me try it again. Then I'm going to play the video clip here. All right. So while that's loading, we'll continue. Actually, it looks like it finished. So this is the actual pronunciation of this word, so no one can say that I'm misleading. So here's the actual pronunciation of it.
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
All right. So you guys heard it with your own ears. That this word is this is the proper pronunciation of the Greek word. We can't get around it. This is the proper pronunciation of this Greek word. We already dealt with the etymological dictionary definition of this. I should have cleaned up this slide a little more, but we don't need to get back into it. But you still see that it's connected here. But it says Niger, Niger. It says African nation named for the river Niger, not Niger, Niger, mentioned by the name 1520 by Leo Africanus, probably an alteration by influence of Latin, as we see here, Niger, right? Even though it says Niger, but we know that it's not pronounced Niger. We know that the proper pronunciation of this word, as I share with you, would be
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
All right. So it says the word
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
African nation named for the river Niger, Niger. Okay. So you heard it with your own ears, and this is coming from the Hebrew Strongs, giving you the actual pronunciation, the Strong's G 3526. So that's the reference. So if you ever in Bible study with your assembly or even dealing with family, and you want to really give them an icebreaker, pull that out. I can tell you that they will be extremely surprised at this history, and they'll be open to listen to you, because they'll know they would instantly ask you for more. Hey, you gotta give me some more information. I never heard of that before. Happens all the time. So again, we dealt with the Greek definition of this word, but the pronunciation of it, but the Greek definition of this word, we see it says black, right? Black, Niger. It says the word means black. We see here Niger, black. Surname, the prophet Simeon, right? So his name is Simeon. Simeon. But we say surname of the prophet Simeon. And Simeon, I'm going to prove to you that they are all Hebrews. Simeon, he's a Negro. And he's an Israelite. So we are to believe that, Niger, Niger, which means black in Latin, is supposedly a surname for a so-called non-blood descendant of Israel who has an Israelite name. Remember, in ancient Hebrew, that is a title of a captain, governor, Nagad, Nagid. So let's go to the Hebrew definition of Simeon, because this is going to prove that he was an Israelite. So this Negro was an Israelite. It says here, Simeon, an example, Shimon, the name of 5 Israelites. His name means hearkening. In other words, this is where we get into the word Shammai, right? Or Shammai, which means hearken, which means discern. Also means listen with intelligence. But then it gives us some different, a list of the different names or the individual names inside the scriptures. The second son of Jacob, Abraham's descendant, one who took the infant Christ, Yahushai, teacher, and at Antioch. So we see that Simeon, the Negro, see, this is how we just prove. They already acknowledged that Simeon is a Negro. They already acknowledged that Simeon is a Negro. So we see that he's a teacher at the assembly of Antioch. The original name of Peter, the apostle. Wait a minute. So Peter? Yes. All of these are Negroes, right? So Simeon is a Israelite. He's an Israelite, but he's also, right? His name is an Israelite name. Every text where the name Simeon is used, it is referring to an Israelite. Let me say that again. Every text where the name Simeon is used, it is referring to an Israelite. So was Simeon an Israelite? Absolutely. Was Simeon a proselyte? No. Here's a key verse that proves Simeon was an Israelite. Here it is. Acts chapter 13, starting at verse 42. So Simeon the Negro, Simeon the nigger, Simeon that we broke down, here's the proof that he's an Israelite. This is coming at, again, Acts chapter 13, verse 42. When the Judeans, yours to say Jews, but when the Judeans were gone out of the synagogue, the Gentiles, in other words, other nations, non-blood descendants of Israelites, besought that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath or Shabbat. Now, when the congregation was broken up, many of the Judeans and religious proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, of whom speaking to them persuaded them to continue in the grace of Yahweh. Verse 44. And the next Shabbat day came almost the whole city together to hear the word of Yahweh. All right. So this is giving us proof here, family. But I know you guys saying, hey, I need more proof. So it was the non-blood descendants that asked to be taught on the Shabbat. But verse 1, notice what it says here. Verse 1 says Barnabas, Simeon, and it gives us clarity that they were teachers, that they were prophets. So we proved that Simeon is a Hebrew name, but what about the others? All right. So again, going back here, just want to make it clear here, right? I didn't want to go here. I thought I had another slide here. All right. So Barnabas, Simeon, Lucius, and Manaen were prophets and teachers. So verse 1 says Barnabas, all these individuals here, they are prophets. So we proved that Simeon is a Hebrew name, but what about the others? All right. Are there any other proof that Barnabas, Simeon, Lucius, and Manaen were Israelites? So let's prove it here. Let's start with Barnabas. Acts chapter 4, verse 36. And Joseph, who by the apostles was surnamed Barnabas, we already see here, it says here, which is being interpreted the son of Consolation, a Levite. So Barnabas was a Levite out of the country of Cyprus. So proof that Lucius of Cyrene was an Israelite. Here we go. Let's deal with Lucius. It says here, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Judeans, devout men out of every nation. Now, when this was noise abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because every man heard them speaking in his own language. And then we go to verse 7. Notice what it says in verse 7. It says here, let me see here. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying to one another, behold, we are not all these, are not all these which speak Galileans? How hear we every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born? Right? But this is the area that I want to deal with right here, verse 10. It says, in Phrygia, Pamphylia, in Egypt, in the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes. So we see here, but Cyrene, we're dealing with Israelites that travel from Cyrene. That's the point I want to make. So in the parts of Libya about Cyrene. So there's another key Israelite man from Cyrene. Let's go to Matthew chapter 27, verse 32. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon, which is synonymous to Simeon. Him they compelled to bear his cross. They don't tell you that many don't tell you that he was an Israelite. So Simeon, coming from Cyrene, he was an Israelite that came from Cyrene because he's coming there to what? Honor the feast days. He's coming to this area to honor the feast days, coming from that territory of Cyrene. All right, but we're not going to just stop there. So Barnabas was from Cyprus and Lucius was from Cyrene. Are there any other proof that there were Israelites in Cyprus? Well, let's go to Acts chapter 19 and 20. Let's see what it says. Or Acts chapter 11, verse 19 and 20. Look what it says. Now they which were scattered abroad upon the persecution that arose about Stephen traveled as far as Phoenice, Cyprus, and Antioch, preaching the word to none but unto Judah. So this tells you, family, we just shutting the door on this, that all these places that Stephen went to and others went to, they were targeting Israelites. It wasn't them going to these territories and targeting non-blood descendants of Israel. They were targeting specifically Israelites. Do you guys see this on your screen? If you guys see what I'm seeing here, if I misrepresented this, let me know. But is it clear as day that the early followers of Christ, they went directly to the Israelites? It wasn't how many make out Christ's words, dispatching them to just any and everybody. Christ taught his disciples to go specifically to the blood descendants of Israel. Christ himself said he was sent to no other people but the Israelites to bring salvation to them. That's Matthew chapter 15. But look at here. Look at here, family. It says here, now they which were scattered abroad upon the persecution that arose about Stephen traveled as far as Phoenice, Cyprus, and Antioch, preaching the word to none but unto Judah only. So that tells you Cyprus, our brothers and sisters, they were Israelites. All these places, they were primarily preaching to Israelites, including Antioch. This tells you that those assemblies were mainly our people. It says to Judah only. So that's, in a nutshell, that's saying that they were strictly only teaching to the bloodline descendants of Israel. Now, family, do we see this in the scripture? I just proved. And let's continue. I just proved. But notice what verse 20 says. And some of them were men of Cyprus and Cyrene. So it's saying these congregations, these assemblies, they were specifically Israelites. They were Judah, right? But it says here, some were men of Cyprus and Cyrene, which when they were come to Antioch, spake unto the Grecians, preaching the Adonai Yahweh, in other words, the Lord, transliterates to Lord Jesus. So it's saying that when we see Grecians, these are Hellenized Israelites. And many could not speak their native tongue of Israel, but Grecian had the Grecian tongue, so they were Hellenized. So we just proved again that they're dealing with strictly Israelites here. So when we go to the definition of Grecian, it says Hellenistus. So we see here Hellenist or Greek-speaking Judah, Yahwadah, Grecian, one who imitates the manner and customs or the worship of the Greeks and use the Greek tongue. But then we see here used in the New Testament of Judah born in foreign lands and speaking Greek. So now let's go to the next one. Let's prove that Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod, let's prove that he was an Israelite, because we can prove this with Josephus, right? But let's start with Acts chapter 13, verse 1. Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers as Barnabas, right? So all of these are Israelites. Barnabas, Simeon, that was called Niger, Nigger, Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the tetrarch and Saul. So it's saying Manaen was young, as you know, raised up with Herod the tetrarch and Saul. Well, was Manaen an Israelite? Was he an Israelite? Let's go to the Josephus Antiques of the Jews, page 565. Let's see what it says. Now there was one of the Essenes whose name was Manaen, who had this testimony that he not only conducted his life after excellent manner, but had the foreknowledge of future events given by him, given him by Yahweh also. This man once saw Herod when he was a child and going to school, and saluted him as king of Judah. But he, thinking that either he did not know him or that he was in jest, put him in mind that he was but a private man. But Manaen smiled to himself and clapped him on the backside with his hand and said, however that be, thou wilt be king. This is confirming what we just read in the book of Acts. This is Manaen. So according to Josephus, Manaen was an Essene, wasn't an Edomite. He was an Essene, right? And so let's get clarity with this Essene. Just going to Josephus, right? The works of Josephus, the complete and unabridged. Look at what how he highlights the different groups of Israelites. It says here, at this time there were three sects among Judah who had different opinions concerning human actions. The one was called the sect of Pharisees, another sect of the Sadducees, who didn't believe in resurrection. But anyway, and the other sect, the Essenes. Now for the Pharisees, and he goes on to give more information on here. So we see that Manaen is an Essene. So Manaen was an Essene, and Essenes are Israelites, family. So Barnabas, Simeon, Lucius, and Manaen were Israelites. We just proved it. Simeon wasn't called the title Niger or Niger because of his skin complexion, right? Niger, but because of his position, right? And that's it. You know, we just at the end of this lesson here, family. So we just walked you through proving that the disciples, they were Negroes. They were Negroes. This is what they don't want to teach you here. This is what those spaces don't want to teach, and they will not teach. But we just proved every last one of those Israelites, they were Negroes. They look like you and I. And guess what? The disciples look just like you and I. Look just like you and I. All right. See another Cash App here. Let's see here. From Milo, thank you for the love and support. Really appreciate it. And I see Ambush Predator posted again. I'm correcting my last post low. I think this is a duplicate here. I already read this, but thank you again, Ambush Predator. Appreciate the love and support. Thank you, everyone, for the love and support and the comments that you have posted tonight. But again, we just proved without a shadow of a doubt that these are Israelites. These are Israelites. All right. These are Israelites. Let me go to something here. I want to see something here just to make sure I was clear on this particular slide. Bear with me 1 second. And I did say I was going to post something about the Greeks, so I'll post it up here. All right, let me delete this. That's an extra slide. Bear with me 1 second. Let me fix something here. I want to correct something. I saw something here. This should have been Barnabas. But anyway, I put Simeon, but it should have been Barnabas. All right. And that was dealing with what I read from Acts chapter 13, verse 42. If we go there real quick, and I'm going to get that source from Josephus as well, that I mentioned that I'll pull out, him stating that the Greeks rather, hijacking other territories, other people's identity, and then putting their face on top of that as if they were the originators. Let me go back here real quick to correct something. So this should have said key verse that proves Barnabas was an Israelite. And this is, again, Acts chapter 13, verse 42 through 44, because when we read here, we see here that Barnabas, right, is teaching with Paul. So many of the Judeans and religious proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, and they were teaching out of the Mashkan. That was the point I wanted to make. But let me do one other thing. Let me pull one source here that I said I will pull up. About the Greeks. Let me pull it up real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Let's see here. Let me see if it's under this one. If not, we'll have to do it another time. I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time. But let me see if it's in this one. No, it's not in this one. Let me try one more. I think I know another presentation that it might be in. All right, let's start here. Let me see if it's in this one. And I'll copy it over real quick. Oh, it's not in that one. It's not in this one. I thought it was. Let me try one more slide. Family. I thought I had it in here. Apparently I don't. Let me try one other slide. If not, we'll have to do it another time. Actually, I think I know it. Let me see here. I believe it was under my dedication lesson. Now that I think about it, it may be there. Yep. All right, let me copy this over. And this is Josephus bearing witness about the Greeks, just what I highlighted. Let me bring this over and I'll read it and then we'll wrap up. I'm just copying this over to the slide. All right, almost there. All right. All right, got it there. Now let me go ahead and get to this here. All right. All right, let's go here. All right, this is Josephus, the 7 books of Josephus, but this is coming from the Jewish War, chapter 5. Let's go ahead and get into it. Here it is. It says here, after this were dispersed abroad on account of their languages, and went out by colonies everywhere, and each colony took possession of that land which they light upon, and upon which Yahweh led them, so that the whole continent was now. Let me go back here. All right, let me read it again. I did not say Yahweh, but let me just read it the way it reads. After this, they were dispersed abroad on account of their languages, and went out by colonies everywhere, and each colony took possession of that land which they light upon, and unto which God led them, so that the whole continent was filled with them, both inland and maritime countries. So I want to make sure that's why I just said God, because I want to refer to as if these Greeks were being led by the Most High. That's why I said God. There were some as who passed over the sea in ships and inhabited the islands of some of those nations, do still retain the denominations which were given them by their first founders, but some have lost them also, and some have only admitted certain changes in them that they might be more intelligible to the inhabitants. And they were the Greeks, who became the authors of such mutations, for when in after ages they grew potent, they claimed to themselves the glory of antiquity, giving names to the nations that sounded well in Greek, that they might be better understood among themselves, and setting agreeable forms of government over them, as if they were a people derived from themselves. So that is further proof that even Josephus highlighted, acknowledge how the Greeks were hijacking people's identities. Every place, every country that they conquered, they were hijacking. When it says ancient or antiquity, that is saying of the old times, even in their days. All right. So, but I just want to share that. I know I mentioned that earlier, that I would share that information with you guys. I don't like to say something without actually showing it and proving. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Also, I want to, give some shout outs here. I see a couple of extra chats here. Let's see here. Dion Jones, thank you so much for sharing the truth with boldness, peace, and blessings. Thank you for the love and support. And another super chat from Ambushed Predator. I'm not religious, but I love to learn in this channel with others. Help me do that. Thank you, my brother. Really appreciate the love and support. Again, thank you for the number of super chats that you shared tonight. It's really greatly appreciative. And family, let's show some love to everyone that showed love to us tonight. And thank you again. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. And for everyone that's watching, guess what? What you can do, To help this channel, click that like button. Don't leave out. Don't end this session here without clicking that like button. If you are not subscribed to the channel, click the subscribe button. And if you think you are still subscribed to the channel, double check to make sure that you are still subscribed. We had a number of people who confirmed that they were, they thought that they were still subscribed and saw that they were unsubscribed. All right. So again, really appreciate you guys. With that being said, in the words of Yahweh, the Most High, these encouraging words that the Most High gave Moses in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, he said to them, "Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, they will never have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you." But here's the kicker. He said, you have to hold your peace. The Hebrew word inside that text is charash, which means be quiet. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.